Yes, people, welcome to Black Future Month 2020. My name is Ray Douglas, and Black Future Month is a unique month, if I may say so myself, because we're not calling it Black History Month, we're calling it Black Future Month. And the reason why we're calling it Black Future Month, it's about laying the foundations for the future. And I'd like to say welcome to our guest today, Keith Shayaam Smith, aka Cypher Jewels. Welcome, Cypher.
Greetings, brother. Hope you're good, man. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for inviting me on the show, brother.
Listen, it's a pleasure, man. And you know, we were chopping it up before we went live, and it's interesting. We run this program in partnership with the National Youth Agency, and the whole concept is around having honest conversations around the Black and, you know, primarily the Black experience, but the BAME experience within youth work. And I couldn't talk about youth work without talking about economics. And I couldn't talk about economics without talking about Blackanomics. And I couldn't talk about Blackanomics without talking to Cypher. So, you know, welcome. I'm going to let people know from the gate that in the chat, I'm going to post Cypher's book. So people really, you know, can understand your journey thus far. I want to start at the very beginning, Cypher. I was thinking today, when I was coming into the office, I was thinking where was the time we first met? And I've got the exact moment, I think.
I think we first met at the Onyx concert. Literally, I went to the Onyx concert, and there was a very young Raymond Douglas, who was part of the Urban South hip hop group, who were at that time the only group in Birmingham that was signed to a major label deal. You guys had a big label. I remember coming to the show. I was into Onyx. I love hip hop so much, right? And I love music so much, but I came up from the early days really loving hip hop, and hip hop being a big part of my life. So I'm going to the Onyx concert, and I see you guys in the queue, you know, outside. In fact, you weren't even in the queue. You were outside the front of the event. It was at the Q Club. I love that venue. The Q Club, I just think is just, man, a fantastic venue, especially when you had a big show and you had, you know, because you had the balconies and everybody around the sides. As we walk past security, everything's nice. And Brick House, which is the other part of your crew, was DJing on the night. So go back to them days. I can't even remember what year that was. It would probably be about, it was Onyx, so I'm thinking 92, 93, something like that.
Exactly that. Yeah, 92, 93. So we go back a long time. When I saw you again after that, and what was interesting, you say that because, you know, we were one, if not the only, one of the few kind of up and coming artists that were signed. We were signed, funny enough, to XL, which is
big.
Which is what, Adele's label, is it? No?
Big. But I know Giggs was on there.
Okay, yeah. So it was a subsidiary of that, Beggars Banquet. And I always remember my first check from the publishing deal. Yeah, I didn't even go home. Went straight to town. Didn't even go home with it. Collected it, went straight to town. So we you know, short of 30 years now. What I want to do though is I want to get your juices flowing, because I've been thinking, well, how are we going to start this? Because it's important for me and for those who don't know who you are or don't know who I am. Start at the very beginning. Why are we talking about Blackanomics? So I was thinking, how are we going to start this? And then it just dawned upon me it's easy. So, you know, this might be a bit nostalgic to you, but let's go.
Listen, I said in a bit, everything will be alright, man. And at the end of the day, you're playing with figureheads, yeah? At the end of the day, please listen to my silent screams. It's the same old, still rapping, still hustling. I still claim though, but still the game's low. Though I need to get it, I'm hungry. I'm my electric, sitting ready to credit. Back a blade to get it, to get paid's my fetish. Thinking about pulling the razor, I wouldn't regret it. I said it, I live this, and incites my poem. Even busy with with that crisis loans, my pockets are broke, but I'm a ghetto survivor. Getting verbal abuse from my no deal advisor. No, listen to this, my empty fridge food missing edition.
But before we get too much into that, first thing,
Bro.
shout out to Malik and Jawar.
Malik is just a master lyricist, and I think everybody who's doing UK rap now owes a lot to that brother, because he really was. He kind of set the sound of modern UK rap. If you, it's like a lineage of rappers. You know, I just remember going anywhere we went in the country with Malik, everybody was listening to Malik.
Yeah.
Other artists were listening to Malik. People were, you know, he had the effect on the UK that Nas had in the US, in terms of like, Nas made everybody kind of put down their pen and wonder what you were, you know, are you really serious about this rapping thing? Because he was just so good. He just upped the levels, you know. So for me, Malik, really, he's been so influential in the sound of UK rap, in terms of what people rap about and how they rap. And he really needs his credit, for real. Master lyricist. I love that song, Silent Screams.
Well, let's go on a little bit of a deeper dive with that, because there's some moments in that where he's mentioned certain things that only a young British youth will understand. Getting from my New Deal advisor.
New Deal.
Yeah. Getting stick from New Deal advisor. My diet is 99 pence chicken and chips and Coke. You know, these adages and these references to British culture, youth culture, you know, jumped out. Like you said, you had a situation there where he was holding a lens that only quite a lot of American artists held a lens, but he held a lens to the British inner city identity like no one else did. So give me a little bit of background about Silent Screams and Moorish, because I want to start at the very, who was Moorish, and tell us about the journey.
Well, it's a long journey, really, because like I actually started in the music business really, really young. You know, I was really tall for my age, you know, so I just remember talking my way onto pirate radio. I was like 13, you know, and I taught my way onto radio. No one ever asked my age because I was so tall. I was like 6 foot. And like 13, 14, no one, I didn't really say much. People just didn't ask me my age. So I was DJing, and I probably put about, I don't know, about maybe 10 years in the game, really, DJing, writing raps, making records. I made my first tune when I was 16. And this is all independent, like literally all independent. I literally worked a little summer job. I was 16, worked a little summer job. I think I worked 3 weeks, something like that. Got the money from that. Recorded some music on a 4-track. Went and got the you know, down to London, got it pressed. Literally had to carry, when you talk about gym work, back and shoulders, literally carrying vinyl, you know, 300 vinyl, you know. I don't think people realize how big that is. And when you have a plan, you got no transport. I'm carrying this in shopping bags, you know, doing some real gym work on the bus, back to Victoria Coach Station, back in the coach station. Remember, you know, them days, coaches didn't really leave that late. So it's a little sleep in the coach station, catch the coach back to Birmingham, straight to Don Christie, straight to Summit Records. Wow. And it was that. So I did about 10 years in the music game doing that kind of thing, releasing independent records until around about 90, I'd say probably about the early 90s. We, you know, part of that was meeting the brothers from Smethwick, you know, over that side. So me and Malik, Jawar, who's like family, you know what I mean, literally. And then there was a whole collective. There was Neil, there was Royalty, you know, there was a whole collective of rappers from across Birmingham. And from that, Lyric Born Pete came out around about 96. And then that evolved into Moorish Delta 7. Once we started doing a lot more reading, that evolved into Moorish Delta 7. So it was kind of.
So what's interesting?
So we
let me
by the time like 98's come, I'm actually real. I've been in the game quite a long time. I've been in the game about 8-9 years, and we're doing Moorish. We're recording. So by the time we write Silent Screams, it's kind of like, if this don't work this time, Silent Screams, Art of Survival. It's like a whole 4-track EP. Silent Screams, Art of Survival, and 2 other tunes. And it was like, if this don't work, we might as well forget it. So we literally been, I was like, it took a long time because it was difficult in them days. But go on, brother. I don't want
to. There's a key part there that's exactly what I was going to ask. So where did that come from? Because there was this constant, and then all of a sudden you've gone Silent Scream. So are you saying it came from a place of hunger, of a place of we've burnt the ships now, there's no way back, it has to happen? Is that what we're saying? And I'm going to connect that to grit, what they call grit in the business world. But is that where that came from, that pain, that sound, that real cadence that you came with?
Well, like for me, it's like, first of all, the music that I grew up listening to Bob Marley. I was really into roots reggae. I always loved roots reggae. I grew up listening to it. So I think me as a MC, I was highly influenced by all of that, by Bob Marley, by Peter Tosh, by Burning Spear, Nitty Gritty. I love Nitty Gritty. I went to Jamaica in '85 and heard Nitty Gritty and Tenasaur and them, so I was really into them as well. So I don't know, like I think that at the time when we made that song, I'd had my first daughter. I think Malik had his first daughter, and we were not in a great place financially. Do you know what I mean? Like straight up, like it was rough. It was proper. It was not good. And you're trying to do your best and all the rest of it. So the desperation in the music and the sense of urgency is very, very real, because it was very, very real times. So when I see a lot of the young brothers and they've kind of angst and I got that kind of urgency, I totally get it. I've been there, so I totally understand it. Do you know what I mean? So that was what was pushing us in the music, and that's what the music was about. The music was like a blend of concrete jungle environment and the consciousness that we were aspiring to, because of, like I said, we all grew up with that, that roots music. I'd grown up with it, but we also, the people who were our predecessors were the Public Enemies, the Brand Nubians, the people of that were the predecessors. The Lakim Shabazis. There was a lot of that kind of conscious music maybe 5 years before, which had influenced us. So there was a blend, it wasn't just straight concrete jungle, it was concrete jungle and the consciousness blended together.
I hear you. And why I wanted you to touch on that, because when we talk about, we could have come in and just spoke about where you're at today, but some of the things you were mentioning there, 4 tracks, printing records, coach rides, then hand to hand selling them in shops. You get, all these things that.
Bro, I was 16, and I'm telling you now, like, I'm walking into Don Christie's with like 150 vinyl because I've dropped some off, and he's like, look, I can't take 150 of your vinyls. Yeah, we can work something out. And I'm like, nah. So I'm really fresh. Do you know what I mean? But you learn those. Some lessons are best learned by actually doing something.
Definitely.
So I learned a lot of lessons about the music industry, the music business and business, just from those experiences, just going out there and doing it. And I still have that kind of mentality of sometimes you just need to go out there and just do it. Make your plan, do your research, go out there and do it. Because that's something that's always worked for me. Because what happened was, like, instantly we had Atomic Records and Don Christie and Tempest Records. they began to kind of like really check for me, because they were like, who's this little youth? Really? They probably could tell I was still fresh faced. They knew I was young. And they're like, who's this? He's doing all this music, printing all these records and whatever. How is this possible? But I was just using money from working and, you know, just whatever job I could get. You know what I mean? If I can get a factory job and I would do it in my head like, well, I need to raise £500. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'll go and work back in the day, they used to have like Foundry. You could do like Parcel Line, all them kind of places. Go and work your £500. Go and take that money, go and press the records. You know what I mean? Go and, you know, use that money to, this is not what I want to do, but I'm going to use the resources that I've got, whatever resources I've got, however I can do it, I'm going to use that to go and do what I need to do. So that's how it was happening.
And like I said, foundries, some people won't understand foundries. Foundries are one level up from factories. Foundries are different, you know, there's a different level of occupational hazards, a different level of, you know, health.
Bro.
Yeah.
I remember working in one heat treatment place, and literally, you know, back in the day, it was terrible, you know, because I don't even think they could spell health and safety. Like literally, I've turned up in my trainers and a one sweatshirt. I'm in a foundry. I remember I dropped a piece of metal on my shoe, and it was only on there for a second, and it burnt straight through my boot, like straight through my shoes, like trainer's mash. So that was like, when you earn £500 in that place, that's like a well-earned like £500. It was a real tough, hot, dirty. You're breathing in all kind of fumes. And remember, our elders were doing that kind of job for like 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years in the same kind of work. They were really tough, you know, to do that kind of work, because it was no joke. It was dangerous. There was no health and safety, and you didn't really get a lot. You had to work a lot of days to raise up the money you needed, you know.
So that's what I'm saying. So one of the takeaways for me is that, you know, you could have done that work and gone and bought Jordans, or gone and flossed, but instead you invested back into Moorish, invested back into your kind of the vision that you had about being an independent artist. And there's lessons in that. Likewise with ourselves. I don't want to go too much into it, but you know, from 17 to 19, we couldn't. Everyone knew where they could find us, and that was creating. You know, daily, not even like weekly, daily. You knew where you could find us, and in the end, and what's the the irony, size. I always say this to people. Technically, we weren't the greatest. Myself and me and my crew, we had some. You know, there was some solid artists amongst us, but technically, we weren't the greatest. But you could not outwork us. You could not outwork us, and that, you know, that's the thing. And back to, and to speak what we're talking about today is I was listening to you know, the Seth Godin, you know, the famous marketer recently, and he was talking about your brand is not your logo. Your brand is how you show up. You know, your brand is how you show up, and consistency, and all the things that you mentioned. And some of the people listening today will not understand some of the nuances to back what it was like then, because we're talking pre-internet. You know, you had to go to London for the meeting. You know, it weren't simple.
There was no industry really in Birmingham. Really, there was a few. There was you had Choice FM. You had, you know, some DJs. And you had a few promoters and stuff, but the industry for UK hip hop, UK street music, period, R&B, reggae, really the industry was in London. Record companies were in London, the distributors were in London, the pressing factories were in London, everything was in London. There was no Google, so you had to literally go and find people. And a lot of the time, like for example, people like Westwood, you know, I would literally drive down to London and wait outside the radio station to pop them up. Either they're coming into the station or they're coming out the station, and you meet them like that, and you hand them the music personally. So you build relationships, because not everybody's prepared to drive a 250-mile round trip to go and give a man a CD or give a man a vinyl. You know, I would go that extra my altar. If I need to go and find somebody, where is he? He's in Edinburgh. I'm gonna drive to Edinburgh and I'll drive back as well. People used to look at me and think, what are you gonna do now? Where's the hotel? The hotel, bro.
Exactly.
I'm on. Remember, I'm young, but I've got a daughter, so I'm doing things like school run. Give thanks to my queen, because she was holding it down, and that is a big part of it because my queen held it down. But the reality of it was that I've always been involved. I've always done things like not all the time, like every day, like she had to. But out of 5 days, I might do the school run maybe 2 days. You know what I mean? Or I do the morning, she do the evening. I do the morning, she do the evening. We break it up like that, not like. So I've done that with all of my children, and for me, like me staying in the hotel is not an option. I've done what I need to do. Mission completed. Back up the motorway, whole couple hours, school run, go back studio. I used to put in long hours. I still do. I used to put in. Yeah, man. I used to put in like 2 days straight. Not 2 days like, I do 2 days, like 2 days straight. I'm not telling everybody that's what you got to do, but I used to do that.
Yeah, listen, there's a concept called holding space, and when people hold space for each other, friends, family, spouses, magic happens, right? Because everyone will benefit, and that holding space is something key. And even the conversation today about economics and Blackanomics, it's not just about the fiscal return, it's about the building. It's about the building. And one of the things that I noticed with you, you're not super active online, but what you say is profound. When I mean super active, you start your Mondays, #keep building. That's all Cypher's going to give you, right? #keep building. What's peace? Give me the acronym peace. Remind me what it is.
Positive energy always creates elevation. And it's an actual fact. Like if you approach anything that you encounter in life, if you approach it with a positive attitude, if you say, you know what, I'm actually going to lift this, there's a lot more chance of you actually lifting it than if you say, I'm never going to lift this. I learned that from martial arts, man. Like as a youngster growing up, I just remember, back in the day when you're doing training, or if you got to lift up something heavy or you're trying to break a board or something, if you don't believe you're going to break that board, you're not going to break it. If you say within yourself, I'm actually going to break this thing, you will break it. You say, I'm going to lift it. And if you say, I don't care if I'm trembling, I'm going to lift it, you will lift it. You will lift it. So the power of the mind is so infinite. It's so immeasurable. I think that we don't realize how powerful, how important it is to get your mind right. So if I'm experiencing something and I find it challenging, I think it's important to look and say, okay, all right, this is the problem. I break it down into a mathematical thing. Like, this is the problem. How do I get around this problem? Because there's always a solution for every problem. How do I get around this problem? Okay, I've got a plan. Let's do it. Let's do it. This is going to work. This is going to work.
Totally.
And I approach things like that. And if it doesn't work, I'm like, well, you know what? That was tried. What was the lessons? How can I recorrect it to make a better solution? Study history, study other people who've worked in this area, in this field. What did they do? What worked? Okay, let me apply that wisdom to this solution now, to this method. Is the method better? Okay, cool. Let's keep it moving.
Totally. And I was sitting here thinking about Sankova. That's where I kind of our paths. We didn't see each other as much, and then kind of circled back, and then I bumped into you in down by the jewelry quarter, and by then you built a studio. Then I think you moved space and took over the Sankova Center, right?
Yeah, man.
Tell the listeners and those tuned in what the Sankova. So you moved from Moorish to Sankova. What was Sankova and 70 about?
Okay, so basically, by 2004, 2005, you know, I get my second daughter. So I'm kind of like, okay, see, it's not like what it is now. Like right now, UK artists, you can make a living. I know it's difficult at the moment because of lockdown and everything, but before lockdown, UK artists could make a living because you could, you know, the record labels are signing. There's an industry. DJs are playing your music. You ain't gotta force people to play your music anymore, or pay people, or pay all these big promotional companies. Or there's a receptive audience out there of people, DJs and professionals who want to support hip hop, R&B, reggae, bashment, you know, Afrobeat, whatever you want to, urban music, UK black music. People are supporting it. At that time, people weren't supporting it. Now you can, you know, artists out there getting paid good money for show fees, that they can have a really good living from being a professional artist. It was difficult then. So it was around 2004, 2005. I was like, okay, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? Because this, I've, you know, I've put a lot of time, a lot of years into music. It's always with me. I'm still always going to support it. But what's my next? How do I build from where I am? So the first thing I started to get into was security. I ran a security company, and I was doing close protection. So I was going, you know, I'm traveling, I'm going abroad, and my mind is growing. I'm seeing different things. I'm seeing opportunities. I'm seeing people my age who are incredibly wealthy. I'm seeing people build things. I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm not really. I watch and I study and I observe. You know, I observe. I see what's going on. I look at what's going on in my surroundings, and I literally come back to the UK, started doing some reading around property, and got involved in property. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm into this property thing. So 2007, bought the building.
Wow.
I'd already had an office in the Jewelry Quarter for, you know, the original MD7 office was like, I think it was like 2000. We got an office really just to push MD7. So I had an office in Jewelry Quarter. I liked Jewelry Quarter. It was, at the time I lived in Newtown, so literally I could walk home. You know,
Yeah.
it was close to everywhere I wanted. Not a lot of people were even knew about this Jewelry Quarter thing at that time. So bought the building, like, you know what? I like this area. I like having an office here. Do you know what I mean? And I started doing a lot of work in music, and got a grind, man. So I basically didn't really spend a lot of money. So I saved money. My plan was I want to buy a building. So once I learned the science of what I need, how much I needed to raise to actually pay for a deposit, that was my target. Okay, bam. Let me raise this deposit and buy this building. That's what I did. I just grafted. I started doing music workshops. I started doing training. I got a security company. Do you know what I mean?
So multiple income streams.
Multiple. I didn't even realize it was multiple income streams until I read Robert Kiyosaki. I think it was. I can't even remember. I think that would have been around about 2006, 2005, 2006. I started reading, Think and Grow Rich and a lot of books like that. A lot of books. There was another elder called George Sabira who wrote a book called Teaching Black Folks How to Make Money. An American writer. Anything to do with finance, property, business, I was either watching it or I was reading it or I was going out there trying to learn. Got the building up, bought the building, fixed the building up, converted the building. Originally, I was like, I want to turn it into a school, so and a studio school. And it was always going to be more than just one thing. So we built a studio. I built the studio in there, and then had a school running in the building, doing for children who've been excluded from school, because that was an important thing for me. The fact that children being excluded from school and wasn't able to get any kind of real proper education. And then more people started reaching out for me, like, yo, can I rent some space in there? Can I So before I knew it, we had about 6, 7 businesses in this small, 2,500 square feet building in Jewelry Quarter, but it was working and it was growing.
Yeah. I mean,
Sankofa Center. Go on, bro.
Sankofa Center then.
Yeah, man. Like, I again, I've always been a person who I always read. I'm reading all the time.
So can you explain to the people what Sankofa mean?
Well, Sankofa means look back and pick it up, take the best of what you was, and bring it into the future to improve yourself. Like, look back to your history, take the best part, and bring it forward. And I'm all about that. I study a lot of history, not so that I can sort of dwell in it and sort of bathe in it and wallow in it. Like, yeah, we were so great back in the day, but to also look at okay, how do we achieve greatness? What were the issues that we had with that greatness, which was the cause of how we lost that greatness? And how did we get into the situation we're in now? What were the good things that we did? What were the things that we could have been done better? So I take a critical view of history, study global history. How did other people become great? How did other civilizations rise and fall? How did some of these great men and women of the past, how did they achieve the things that they achieved? What was the best part? What was the worst part? Keep the best part and leave the worst part.
I hear that. Totally. And what's interesting, I think we were having a live the other recently, and people talk about obviously being Black History Month and so on, and quite often they speak about Mansa Musa and Mali and the wealth, but no one really wants to talk about it through a critical eye, and the fact that that wealth brought attention. And, that wealth brought attention, and I call it wearing the fur coat to the fight. It's the same principle. And what you've done very well with your work is you've done it quietly and just got on with the work. And and the fact that what you just said there, to buy a premises in the Jewelry Quarter, and it's not is a major feat. So more power, brother. So and that's when I came and visited you.
You know what, though, bro? I'll be honest with you, bro. I'm not really on a loud. I've never really been on a loudness read, really. Anyway, never really been that way inclined, and I just like to build, and I like to create, and I like to see things develop, and I like to make things and push things forward. And I enjoy my enjoyment of it is its success and its growth. Don't get me wrong, there's things that I do like. I'm not going to say I don't like nice trainers, and I don't like nice clothes, and I don't like nice cars, and I don't like nice things, because I do. But if I need to do something, I will focus. I will leave the nice things that I want temporarily for the bigger vision of what I want to achieve. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So when I was a youth growing up, I respect my parents highly for what they did and what they achieved, but I never had no Spectrum computer, Commodore 64, Amstrad, Atari, PlayStation. I didn't have those things, so basically I learned to kind of be like, I'm not really fussed. I'm trying to say, so because I never really had a lot of it when I was growing up, I'm really not really obsessed with it. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, and that generation, you and I know that generation, when we look back on it now as adults, a lot of them were working through trauma, right? They didn't have time to, come into a new country, come into a new culture, the overt racism, some of the settings that they were in were very challenging, so for you to go home now as a teenager and say, oh, mom, dad, I've seen a Takini tracksuit in Olympus for £120.
And the thing is, it would be like £120 then. You know what I mean? It would it'd be like some mad money. Like it's impossible. It's just impossible. I always wanted to be a DJ. I wanted to, the people I admired was like, Grandmaster Flash and Cash Money and Jazzy Jeff, and I wanted techniques and mixer. it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. So I ended up, sometimes your limitations actually grow you. So I ended up making beats, because it's like, well, somebody's got a sampling computer. Bam, I can get a little keyboard. I can make beats. I got these vinyls. It's an easier option. I got into rapping because the finances weren't there to do the DJing. So it pushed me into rapping, pushed me into beatbox. And I'm grateful for that limitation because it actually grew me into the person that I am now. Do you get what I mean?
And that's what I'm saying. Beatbox. People forget that beatbox was a lot of the time because people couldn't afford drum machines. And I would say, like myself, I would have loved the 1210s, but I had to hold a Cyrex 333s from Tandy, right? So, but
needles jumping all over the record. There's no scratching going on.
No, not at all. But here's the thing. So you've done that, then you've dropped The Secret Money Manual. Tell us about that book, because that was a defining book, and the mantra, the line underneath it. So The Secret Money Manual, what's this? What was the mantra underneath?
Yeah, man, economic lessons for the hip hop generation, financial strategies for the hip hop generation. I'll be honest with you, right? I think I take the best part, I leave the worst part. One of the things that when I read like Think and Grow Rich, and when I read things like Rich Dad Poor Dad, to me, it was kind of like, in the book, Robert Kiyosaki's dad, for us, he's the dad that he called his poor dad, for us would have been our rich dad, if you get what I'm trying to say. Like, he had a very good job. He was like a senior person in education. He was on a good salary. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's the poor dad in the book. We're coming from, our parents are coming from a different country, coming into the UK, facing marginalization. I needed something. I wanted to create something whereby it would help somebody who's literally right now, it's baked beans and rice, and you're on £100 a week. Do you know what I mean? Max. How do you build from that? I wanted to create something that would give people the real lessons of how to build from that kind of position. So, and I actually wanted to make it practical. Like, okay, if this is what planning permission is, this is what planning classifications or building usage is, this is what a mortgage is, this is how you get a mortgage, this is the kind of money you're going to need for a deposit, this is how long it takes, this is who's involved. I wanted it to be real useful, and I targeted people who were like me. I was thinking of me at 16, youngster out there trying to make it in the world and really facing all these challenges simply because I just didn't know things. I didn't know stuff. I learned in a quite difficult. I learned through experience.
Yeah.
So for me, there's two types of wisdom. There's the wisdom that I can learn from somebody else's experience, and there's the wisdom I can learn from my own experience. I think the wisdom that I can learn from someone else's experience is a superior wisdom. If I can gain 20 years of wisdom by, by reading about how you faced some problems, and I can extract the best part of that and apply it to my own strategy, is very helpful. So I wanted to, I've been involved in running business for about 15 years. From a young age, 16 years old, running around in the music business, doing things independently before it was trendy and before it was a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
And I'd learned a lot. I'd run a security company, I'd run a shop, I'd done like trading, where you're buying like different products from one country and selling it to another country. I've done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And participated in more stuff, like been involved in different businesses. And I was like, okay, I want to do a brain dump and make this wisdom available for the younger version of myself and people who come from that, who might be thinking, how do I get out of this situation? How do I make something of myself in the world? And you're not too sure which way to go, and you kind of feel as though people aren't telling you the real information that you need. that was the inspiration behind the book. That's why I called it The Secret Money Manual, because to me, a lot of the lessons were secret. It's like, why are you keeping this knowledge away from the people who need it the most, you know?
Yeah. So there's something you said there about learning from others' mistakes. And I was watching or reading something recently about, MySpace. Now it's interesting, MySpace isn't around anymore. Yet that disrupted, in terms of like what we see now around social media, MySpace was the disruptor. But what happened was every mistake they made, Facebook was right behind them and didn't make the same mistake. That's what they say. You look at the story. Facebook were right behind them, but didn't make the same mistake. They learned from MySpace's mistake. And I think at one point MySpace was going for 10 million. That's how cheap it went to. And prior to that, it was like 500 million. So what we're saying here, and why I'm drawing out these gems, is because I want people listening in and to speak to what we're talking about in terms of Young, Gifted and Blackanomics, because it's the secret money manual, as you know. But what you find is that if it's not taught, it will remain hidden. If it's not shared, it will remain hidden. You've spoke about assets v liabilities. You spoke about real estate. We spoke about rolling up the sleeves and putting a shift in, right? Because I'd like to hear your view on this before we move a bit further down into the book. Because a lot of people say when you're a roadman, if you're a roadman, you can be an entrepreneur. And one of my colleagues and friends said something. No, he doesn't agree with that, because being a businessman and an entrepreneur means that you have to be truthful, because people won't want to do business with you. Being a businessman and trading means that you can't, it's not like the road. There's elements that are similar to the road, but it's not the same. And what you're saying to us today is that what we used to call in the hip hop community, paying your dues is part and parcel of business. What's your view on that?
You know what, brother? Maybe it's the way business should be, but I don't think that's the way business is, because I've met so many people who were given a business to them, like, their dad said, okay, you know what, you need to stop messing about, and here's a business. And I'm not knocking those people. I would like to do that I think we should be doing that more for the young people in our community. Not necessarily just giving them something, but providing a foundation for them to build on, without necessarily going through the struggles that we had to. I personally wouldn't want the youth now to be walking around carrying 300, the equivalent of 300 vinyls at all times of the night, walking around in London with some aching arms, on bus, sleeping in Colt Station. You know what I mean? Like, I think that the next generation should be better than us. They should be able to stand on our shoulders, and they should be able to reach higher heights. I want people to look and say, you know what, Cypher did his thing, it was all right. You know what, if he could have done this, he could have done that. One day, I'm very aware that one day somebody's going to take everything, my work, personality, and put that under the microscope and critique, like how they critique whoever they critique, and I think that's the process of striving for perfection, that each generation should improve. And I think in our community, I feel sometimes we're going backwards. I'm not trying to pass the struggle on to the next generation of young people in our community. I'm trying to give them something that they can build and be better than us and go forward quicker, faster, and easier than what we did. I don't want them to struggle. I don't want them to necessarily go through the pain, because I think maybe a little bit of pain, maybe a little bit of struggle, maybe a bit of challenge to kind of understand how things are, the grind and there's basic things around, work ethic and drive and vision. That's important. But I personally want to make it easier for the next generation. I don't come from the school of, I went from this, I went through that, I went through this, and I want you to go through it as well. And I actually want you to go reach higher than what I did. I want you to go farther than what I did. When I see the young artists in the UK music industry, I admire them. I love what they're doing. The fact that they've created independent companies that are now very successful. They're getting way more money for show fees and things of that nature than we did. I love it. I love to see the success. My only thing is, I just think that all of this wealth, when you're getting it, all this money, when you're getting it, invest it wisely, because it's not always going to keep coming. It's not, it might be coming good now. Look now, there's a lockdown. Who predicted that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So always remember your blessings and appreciate your blessings. When things are going good, remember to take precautions, put some aside for when things aren't so good. You know what I mean? Put some reserves aside, invest. You know what I mean? So you can invest a portion of what you're earning so that it's growing, and in 5 years' time, that's what you're going to be eating off. You know, think strategic, man. Plan your thing. And I wanted people to have that kind of chess player kind of thinking and apply it to their life and apply it to their finances. But in our community, though, which sometimes, you know, talking about money and business and economics, especially in the 90s, was a dirty word, it felt like.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when you launched the book, I was like, this is interesting because no one had done it before. No one actually had done it before. And what's interesting is the community's relationship with money. So if you say to most people, have you heard the saying, money is the root of all evil?
Oh,
and everyone goes,
man.
yeah. Everyone goes, yeah. But it actually doesn't say that. It's the love of money is the root of all evil. It's not saying money is the root of all evil. So a lot of the generation that we're talking about, you know, those of us who were like the Thatcher generation, you went to school and you did 6 to 8 hours of maths every week, but you were never taught assets and liabilities. You were never taught debt and credit. You were never taught investment and interest. You weren't taught that. Yeah, you were taught Pythagoras and pi equals 3 point and algebra. But the truth is, what you're learning should be what you should be able to implement tomorrow, especially when you're coming from, in my opinion, you're coming from specific communities. Now, when you launched the book, it turned a lot of heads. You know that, right? Because it was just left field, but it was so important. So now we've moved forward. So we've got this space now. You've got Sankofa, you've got the book. Let's bring it right up to today, because what I really want to talk about is growth. And what I really want to share with people is that now in 2020, you know, your current role is you're the CEO of the Legacy Center, and the Legacy Center is the biggest Black arts center in Europe. And if I could, I should have brought a sampler with me and just done a round of applause on the sampler, right?
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, the biggest, let me run that again, the biggest Black Art Center in Europe. A place actually where I look back on it, I watched Das Effects and Redman in that place. Right? Das Effects, and I'll go over some people's head, and some people will know
Aston
where we're
Hippodrome.
Aston Hippodrome, yeah. What I want to get at though is, and really get into is, when we spoke about this, and I think we need to have an honest conversation. When we look at history, our parents came to the UK, and what the overarching kind of policy was what's called assimilation, right? Assimilation was replaced by multiculturalism. That time of multiculturalism, the Pakistanis were given their centers, the Afro-Caribbean community were given their centers, the Polish were given their centers, the Irish were given their centers. Multiculturalism was replaced by community cohesion. Community cohesion was supposed to be replaced by big society, and big society didn't even happen. And now we're in the B word coming, and which people actually forgetting about because of COVID, Brexit. But back to multiculturalism. So when we go through a majority of the Caribbean and Afro-Caribbean areas in Birmingham, Manchester, London, we see these, some closed, some hanging by a string, Afro-Caribbean centers, led centers. And we had this conversation earlier. What's your view about it? Because now you're in the middle of Brexit, in the middle of, and this wasn't your choice, obviously, a pandemic. Once again, you've changed the game by opening the biggest Black-owned art center in Europe, right? Which goes against, let's be honest, it goes against, not just push back against what we're told, but also while everybody's downsizing, you've grown, right? You've gone big and wide, or was you saying our culture, big and serious, right? tell us and tell the people tuning in. Tell us about the Legacy Centre.
I mean, it is the biggest Black-owned arts and business centre. But I'll be honest with you, right? I keep building. You know, when I say that message, I say keep building.
Yeah,
I keep building.
Building.
So it's not like I've sat down and reflected and thought, yo, you know, man's got this huge building and blah blah blah, and I'm this guy, and because I'm already thinking about, okay, what's the next thing? You know, how do we make it better? How do we do this? How do we take things to the next level? So, you know, the honest reality is we were in Sankofa Center, and Sankofa Center, we were outgrowing the space. We had, you know, 2,500 square feet, and we've been outgrowing the space for years, you know. And I remember we were doing a project with youth music, and the building was packed. And the guy from youth music, who was really, you know, as an organization, they were really helpful. And he came, he said, look, you know, Cypher, the building, what you're doing is amazing, you know. But he said, I'll be honest with you, you need a bigger building. You know, I mean, this is, he was just like, there's a lot of people in here, and there's more, and you need a bigger. And the reality we did. So what happened was, for me, I saw the drum close. You know what I mean? And
tell people what the drum was for Birmingham.
The drum at the time it was the biggest Black or BAME Black multicultural art center in Europe at the time. So what happened was, for whatever reason, the funding around the building stopped, and the building was lost. The company that was managing it folded, and you know, this is a building where you know, it had been the former Aston Hippodrome, and a lot of people love the building. In our community, they love the building because they've gone to see the Abyssinians there, Still Pulse there, like you said, Redman, Das Effects. There have been so many artists who've been in that building, so that building's gone. And to me, our community has lost so many buildings, and iconic buildings, iconic spaces. And it's like, when you've got a space, I remember doing studying what they call phenomenology when I was studying back in the day at university, right? And they were talking about phenomenology, and they were talking about how space is sacred to communities, and how space is sacred in certain religions. You know, the mosque is a sacred space, the temple, the Gurdwara is a sacred space, the church is a sacred space. You know, so, but also there are sacred spaces which are not non-religious, but they're sacred to communities and people.
Yeah.
So every time we keep losing these buildings, it affects the self-esteem of the community. You know, it really affects the esteem of the community. It's like the community, it's like a body blow to the community, and I just wasn't having it. I just saw it, and I just wasn't having it. So I saw the building was going to be lost, and I was like, you know what? I'm just not having it. I'm just not on it. So I'm going to do something about it. So literally, at the time, I was working in project management. So I'm in project management. I'm managing other people's projects, and these projects are, you know, I'm managing other people's budgets, and I'm managing other people's projects. And these projects have been successful because I'm now applying. It's quite difficult going from an entrepreneur going back into the work world, but I was applying my level of urgency and my strategic thinking and all the things I'd learned from being in business into the world of project management. And I'll be honest with you, I was becoming really successful in that world. I was doing well and achieving results. So I'm looking at things, I'm like, if I can manage other people's projects and these £1 million projects, I can do my own. You know what I mean? I can do my own. So when the tender came out, I wrote the tender. And all the time I was like, I'm not having it. We are not losing another building.
It's a silent screen moment. It's asylum screams,
straight up. So, you know, I'm being real with you, bro. Like literally everything, resources that I had, I put it to the use of this. You know, money that I had, I put it to the use of this. Sell this, put it to the use of that. Property, sold it, so that I could raise the money to be able to complete. I was dead serious, like I'm dead serious about this thing, and we did it. We got it, you know, and we spent the money to refurb it, and we it was like, nah, we got it May last year.
Yeah.
And we spent three hard months because the building had been empty for 3 years. And buildings need to be loved. You understand? Like buildings suffer when they're not, like buildings need to be cared for every day. Like, you know, if you don't turn your car engine on for a year, even if you left it in perfect condition, there's issues that have gone wrong with it in that year that you didn't care for it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of work that had to be done. We just did it. Got it open. And now, you know, there's a cafe here. The auditorium's all been completed. You know, there's businesses that base themselves here. You know, we've got virtual office here. There's a restaurant who opened 2 months ago here. Class restaurant. There's a cafe lounge. And it was, you know, it's not been easy. And we've had support. We've had support from the community and from various organizations. But we just press forward.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. When I say it's not easy, it's not easy. So I don't knock any of the elders or any organizations of the past for having issues and losing buildings, because I know how expensive buildings are to run and how difficult they are to make sustainable. So I never try and carry on like I'm this special guy, because I look at it like our elders and our ancestors did more with less. So I'm just carrying on the tradition. I'm standing on their shoulders. I'm serious about what I'm doing. I want to play my part in building infrastructure in the community and inspiring others to do the same. You know, but I'm serious though. You know, like every minute of my day is, I want to make it productive. Even if I'm resting, then I'm being productive because I'm resting so I can do more work tomorrow. If I'm not here, I'm going to be productive. I can sit down and I can help my daughter with some maths or talk to her about her culture or history or help with her homework. I want to be productive. That, to me, that's been productive, because being a father is part of a major part of what I'm supposed to do. That's my purpose, and they have to come before everything. So to me, I just want to be productive. So I'm on it all the time, and it's not often that I'm not on it. So I haven't really had that process of being like, wow, man, like, you know, the legacy and what you've achieved. And I'm still in building phase. I'm still in, okay, we're in COVID. I'm in fight phase. How we gotta make this work, we gotta make it sustainable throughout this crisis.
Yeah. And that's what it is.
And what are we gonna do next year? What are we gonna do in the next 5 years? What are we gonna do next 10 years? What are we gonna do next 15 years? Where do we want to be in 25 years time? And putting that plan into action. So I'm in that space. Maybe there'll be a time where, you know, like the Secret Money Manual, when I wrote the Secret Money Manual, it was like literally I'd done so much and I stopped. And it was basically a situation where I kind of stopped for like 6 months and just sat down watching films on my laptop, writing the book down, but like it was a big rhyme. I wrote it like when I write rhymes, I used to play a beat, have a film, a little incense, writing my rhymes, looking out the window, watching what's going on, writing my rhymes. I just took the same methodology and wrote a book like that. You know, sitting down, watching classic films, a little bit of Rakim or some Big Daddy Kane or some Nas or, you know, some J. Rue the Damager or some Dr. Dre or whatever in the background playing. And you know.
But you see, I'm extrapolating as you're talking there. So the two things that have come out already, not only you haven't opened the center as this kind of shell, you have spaces in there that are income generating spaces. You said cafe, you've got the co-working space in there. I know you're working on that. You've got the restaurant. So these are, whatever happens, these are income generating spaces. And this is the thing, you know, because even though definitely I agree with you, we shouldn't be criticizing our communities went before, in a sense, because we don't understand, but it breaks my heart when I drive past things like the Muhammad Ali Center and I drive past certain other centers, because almost a lot of those centers were given, they were set up to fail because there wasn't a sustainability plan, right? And, you know, you weren't given maybe the marketing and the team and the infrastructure or those communities back then to say, well, hold on, we'll give you the building, but there's got to be a sustainability plan. So you're talking about 12 months, 3 months, 5-year plans. That's what I'm hearing. But one thing I also want to say is not just the fact that the building and the space within it. You also, I saw recently now, and it's amazing how whatever a person believes in, pre-decree, serendipity, whatever, all of a sudden, boom, we have the conversation about the Black Pound. Black Pound Day. Yeah. Now, interesting, right? There's no Black Pound Day in Birmingham the way it's going down now without the Legacy Centre. Do you sense what I'm saying? It can happen. Don't get me wrong. But all of a sudden, we have the whole conversation about George Floyd. We have the whole conversation about Black Lives Matter, and I'm on about the sentiment of Black Lives Matter, not the organization. We have the whole conversation about racial justice, about equality. And this is if people tuning in, that's why we're talking about equal equity. And then I open up my Instagram and I see you with Swiss from Soul Solid Crew, and it's Black Pound Day or Black Pound Market. Tell me and the viewers about Black Pound Day and Black Pound Market. What is that?
I mean, for me, right, there's, for many years, people have discussed how do we make the money in our community circulate better, you know. But I think a lot of this year will go down in history because it's been a funny year. Because those of us who've been around a long time, like, again, I've known for a long time that our community is in a situation. The information wasn't new to me. Do you know what I mean? We know that we are in disenfranchised, disrespected community globally in the Western world, to be honest, right? And that the reality of it is what's the issue with around George Floyd's death that could happen in the UK. And let's just be very clear. And there's been similar kind of incidents and issues in the UK that persist now. So we felt very connected to it, but for many people in our community, it was like they're in their house, they're watching the news, and it was like a horrifying moment where they realized, wow, we're actually oppressed. And a lot of other people from other ethnic groups and other communities were looking at me like, this is ridiculous. This is actually disgusting. So there's been this discussion. Now, for me, I take my hat off to Swiss. The minute I saw him come up with that idea, that imagine if we just took a day and just encourage Black people to spend their money with Black businesses on that day. You know, do you think that could work? Immediately, I was on Instagram. I reached out to him straight away, like, this is an amazing idea. Tell me if you need any support anyway.
Yeah.
You know. So, you know, to me, I'm not to say that we were best friends or anything like that from back in the day, but the reality of it is that the music industry in that day was quite small. So we used to be around Soul Solid and, you know, Heartless Crew and all of the different grime, garage, hip hop groups. We MD7, Moorish Delta 7 straddles that era where they were just coming in. If you get what I mean, we've been in the game since the early 90s, and they were coming into the game. It was now the 2000s, and there was that transition of hip hop into grime and garage and all the rest of that to what UK rap and what it is now. So we kind of fit in that middle part. So we did shows together. We did things together where in the early days before they were huge, and like he'd always just struck me as like a cool, humble brother, to be honest. Do you get what I'm saying? He's always been like a cool, humble brother. Any interaction I had with him was peace. So that is important as well, because he was like, some people could say certain things, and I'm like, yeah. But you see, because him, and I know he's just kind of a cool, humble guy, I was like, yeah, let me know how we can support. So I reached out to the brother, and our team, I'm blessed. I've got a great team here at Legacy, and our teams got together, started discussing and of how we're going to do things and whatever, and they came up with the idea of, we've been doing marketplace events from when we opened, but it was like, now what we're going to do, we're not going to do that. We're going to theme something specifically around Black Pound Day. You've got the concept, love it, and let's do something different. Let's do it bigger than what we did before, but still taking consideration of making it safe in these COVID-19 conditions. So we did it amazingly successful, and to be honest, I'm so glad, because the community complied with us. Like, look, we have to do certain things a certain way. You got to wear your mask. You're gonna have to hold a temperature check. You're gonna have to have sanitize your hands as you come in. You got to have your sanitized. But there's a lot of restrictions. There's restrictions around the amount of people we can let in the building. We can't have performances. It's got to be a retail experience. It can't be an event. But we've done it, and we've made it successful. And these businesses are selling out of their product. And I'm not talking about me just kind of being like, yeah, they're selling out. I'm talking about, like, we put the stalls or the concessions in to say, you can rent your space within the building. It's only limited, and they're going straight away because everybody's selling out. Do you know what I mean? Or if they're not selling out, they're doing very, very well. The businesses who are professional businesses are getting the contacts they need. The people who are manufacturing stuff and distributing and selling stuff are like, they're selling all their stuff, because the people are coming with their money in their hand to spend. Phenomenal. I'm actually, it's something I'm really proud of being involved in, because nobody knew how it was going to work, but it's been amazing. I think we've all been bowled over by how successful it is. You know what I mean? And I'm meeting a lady. She was like, look, I sold 221 cakes. 221 cakes in one day. That's never happened. Like, we took my whole stock that I've got for whenever, that's all gone. And there's a lot of stories that I hear of different businesses telling me this. So I love it.
I love it. And there's three things there that jump out for me. One, the fact that you had a relational link into Swiss, but also something you mentioned about your team. Yeah. And we can, the team element, and why I'm pulling these things out is because success leaves clues, and failure leaves clues. And, there is a team. I know some of your team, and they're like yourself. They're very serious about Blackanomics. They're very serious about, and when I say Blackanomics, in the sense of supporting the community to be better, supporting economically better, spiritually better, from their well-being and so on. But one of the other things that I hear from you saying there is that there's an appetite for the Black Pound Day. There's an appetite
100%.
for people to spend with Black organizations and Black companies. And some people find it difficult to swallow that. But here's the thing. We know, you look at the research, successful communities, their pound bounces between 10 and 15 times. They're £1 10 and 15 times. The African diaspora, the Afro-Caribbean community specifically, between 1 and 3 times.
It's got to change.
It's got to change, and that's why we ran. That's why we ran this session, because the Black Pound bouncing is a conversation to be had, because you cannot have growth without economic stability.
Well, economics is going to be a big part of us saving our community. Essentially, if you think about knowledge of self, education, health, economics is right up there with all of them. Because the reason our community is so disenfranchised is because we haven't really focused on economics. We've got to build an economic infrastructure in our community. It's absolutely fundamental. It's like, if we don't do that, I don't know where we're going to be. So the fact that there's an appetite for people supporting Black business, I'm telling you, I'm seeing it. It's tangible. And I think we've got to get out of the old ways of expecting Black businesses to give people discounts. You know, finding fault with everything that we do. You know, you wanna cost this guy's business, you wanna cost that guy's business. You know, you know, if you go into McDonald's and you buy a fries and they're cold, you know, you take the fries back and you say, my fries were cold, and they give you some new fries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't come into you know, you understand, be as flexible, be as
but Saif, let's be honest,
willing to support.
Let's be honest, we've got to be done with the hard-faced woman on the counter in the Caribbean. That's gotta go, bro. That's gotta go. We can't be flexible on that one.
You know what, right? You know what? I'll be honest with you. I get a smile from the hard-faced woman in the food shop.
Me too.
I'm just being honest. I think that's when that's when you know you're putting some work, because I don't get the hard face like that. I get a little smile and a little, "You all right?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can. But in all seriousness, I think that us as a community have to focus on economic development. It's fundamental. It's like literally fundamental, and I don't think we've ever been serious about what we do. Yes, do some of our businesses need to improve the way we do customer service? Yes. Do all businesses need to improve the way they do customer services? Yes. But I just think that we should be more willing to support and less critical, less deliberately critical and malicious. And I'm not saying that we are, because I think a lot of, look, in my experience in businesses, people from our community have supported me for years. You know what I mean? From when I was in the music business, when I had the shop, you know, I've got a lot of customers came in the shop and supported me. You know what I'm saying? And supported the business that I was doing. So I don't have that nightmare Black person not getting support story, because I've always had support.
Yeah.
You get me? And I don't really look for the people who don't support. I look to the people who do, and I look at them as so valuable for supporting me, and I'm grateful for it, and I don't take it for granted. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Totally.
So for me, my experience of being in business, of being a Black man in business, is a positive one. Is it difficult? Is it challenging? Yes, but you do a good job, or you try. Even if you try, if people see you trying, they'll support you. Legacy, we've had so much support, and I don't take it for granted. You get what I'm trying to say? I don't take it for granted. Like, yeah, you have to support us. Thank you for the support, and I honor the people who do support us. You know, and as we grow and we go forward and we can do more things like Black Pound Day, we got Fashion Invasion, we got the fashion conference for, you know, urban fashion labels. We got coming next year. We got the Black Book Festival, the British Black Book Festival coming next year. We've got we've also gonna have our events, artistic and events program coming back. You know, our cultural program coming back. So all of these things, we have to look to a positive future and say, look, all of the challenges around COVID and the lockdown and all that, let's keep pushing, because it's gonna eventually, it will go away, it will pass. You know what I mean? Like you know, you know that saying, after difficulty comes ease. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After difficulty comes, you know that way, brother. After difficulty comes ease. Like, I know I'm very aware that we're in a universe that was created by a very righteous entity that has ensured that there's a mathematical way in which things work, and the storm doesn't last forever. You know what I mean? And the difficulty doesn't last forever. You know, after difficulty will come ease, and I know that, to me, that's as tangible as tomorrow morning, I know that the you know, it's going to be daylight will come in the morning. So to me, it's tangible. I know the ease will come.
Thank you, bro. And you know, I'm sitting here and I'm reminiscing when I used to go to supplementary school, right? And you know, and it was, you know, probably Sister Ninnis and Miss Hyacinth, and they were wizards in maths, right? These old black women, and used to go there on Saturday to learn maths, extra maths. And you know, it was in a cold community hall, but it was every Saturday, supplementary schools. And a lot of the people in the Afro-Caribbean community know that, you know, people like you'll know about it, you hear Akala talking about it. But if we were to open when I say we as a community, if we were to open a supplementary school in 2020, let's call it the future school, right? What would you like to be taught in there? Because when I think of a supplementary school in 2020, I'm talking about things like public speaking. I'm talking about things like writing business plans. What's your view on it? If there was a supplementary school in 2020?
I still think knowledge of self first. You know, knowledge of self first and foremost. You gotta know who you are, where you come from, your history, your culture, and be able to do a critical analysis of that. You know, not in dreamland, but in reality. I think it's very important that we teach our young people to be productive. You know, encouraging them into things like STEM, like you said, public speaking, construction, development, architecture, design, creativity, management, project management. Do you know what I mean? Literally educating them to be bosses, to be managers, to be leaders, to be creators, to be developers, to actually take the world by storm. So they've got the knowledge of self foundation, then they've got powerful education that's preparing them for the world the way it is and the way it's going to be in the future. No, I think economics and business is fundamental, should be taught in that environment. I think health, you know, I'll be real with you. Like I've done projects with young people because I've been, as you know, I've been volunteering on projects with young people since I was about 16 myself. I was young myself when I started volunteering on projects like that. And it's always been something that I've always done throughout my life. And I'm very aware that a lot of our young people don't really take care of their health the way that they should. Diet sometimes can be awful. I mean, really, really bad. Like they don't even really eat a healthy diet at all. Mental health is a very important thing. Like, you know, how to deal with social media, how to deal with peer pressure, how to manage these things. You know, suicide is a serious thing in our community. So I think health, mental health, culture.
I love it.
You know, but our young people should be looking and saying, all right, so, okay, Lico Dangote's got what, 12 billion? Okay, I'm on that. Okay, so this guy, he built chips, I'm on that. Okay, Rolls Royce, they make cars, they make engines for planes. Boom, I'm gonna buy Rolls Royce, or I'm gonna be an engineer at Rolls Royce, or I'm gonna be a neurosurgeon, or I'm gonna be the best you know, music producer around, or I'm going to build a new stadium in a foreign country, or I'm going to be the best at what you can be.
Yeah, things
and
that
literally reach for the stars. Like, you know, like I don't think our young people in this world where you can do so many things so quick, teaching them to become masters, man. And I just think that one thing a lot of people learned from lockdown, let's be honest, you looked at some of the schoolwork that your youths were getting, and you're like, what is this? You know what I mean? I'm doing lessons with my daughter, and we're getting through the work in like hour and a half, and that's for the day. And we're sitting down. I'm like, you know what I mean? And
watching my documentary.
Yeah. So and I think a lot of us, we participate in our children's lives. You know, we give them supplementary education, we teach them stuff, but the lockdown forced many of us to be, okay, this is the curriculum, and they're just sailing through it. They're going through it quick, and I'm like, you're not actually being challenged enough. You know, our children are not being challenged enough. Our children are not being are not thinking expansive enough. Like, you know,
and Cypher, let me. You'll recognize this, and most of the people in the chat today. You know, we were taught French and German, right, for hours a week. We weren't taught Mandarin and Arabic. If it was based upon economic growth, we should have been taught Mandarin and Arabic because that's where the wealth is now. But we were taught French and German and never had to use it. So
my oldest daughters, I made sure they got a Mandarin teacher. They can come to you and drop a little, you know, a little Chinese on you. Do you know what I mean? They can communicate. They can definitely be able to communicate, you know, and that was something I saw the future, like French and German, yeah, because French because you could go to Haiti or some African countries and you need to be able to conversate with people and do trade in French and stuff like that. But Chinese, Mandarin is so important, being able to learn these new languages. Spanish, do you know what I mean? If you're going to America, you're going to South America, you're going to Latin America, where we're from the Caribbean, so you know at some point you're gonna want to go and see what's going on in the rest of the wider South Central American hemisphere area, you know, geographical area. You're gonna want to, and you're gonna need to learn. You're gonna need to know Spanish to really enjoy that experience or make the most out of it. Beautiful. So I just think that we need to be thinking more expansive and getting our children to be thinking more expansive.
You know what? If there's someone in the, because a lot of people tuning in, there needs to be a supplementary school.
I'm down for it. I'm down for it, and
call it future-proof school. All the things you mentioned, knowledge of self, you know, business, finance, health and well-being. You know, Saturdays 10 till 3. People reach out to Cypher. They've got a space. They've got the classrooms. They've got the space. If you're about that, it's there. And the thing is,
I'm on it.
Thank you.
Simple. So like I'm dead serious. I'm dead, and you know, that health and well-being, I can't emphasize that enough. I'm telling you, I still do mentoring for young people. I meet young people, man, like they're like 18, 19. They're on prescription drugs for mental health. I think that's an issue. I'm not trying to condemn medication. I'm just saying that this thing is happening so much now to our young people. Any program we do, health and well-being has to be part of it. Knowledge itself has to be part of it. Economics has to be part of it. You know, professionalism and getting our young people into professional careers and teaching them how to play the game. Because one of the things I learned from working in the professional world is like, I'm meeting, you know, guys who are like 25. You left uni, went straight into a company on a graduate program. Within 2 years, you're on 50K a year. I've met people like that, 24, 25, winning. You know what I'm saying? Now, we need to be putting our young people in position like that. Not saying, nah, you know what, I went through the struggle, so you got to go through the struggle like me. No. You go and get this education. Make sure you remember who you are. We're not on no sellout thing. Make sure you get your education. Get yourself in a position to go into any of these professional careers if you want to. Do you know what I mean? And then once you're in these professional environments, keep your eyes open, you know, keep your eyes open, look and see, how do these things work? You understand what I'm saying? And then, because I actually think that you can take that knowledge and that wisdom that you learn from that professional environment and take those systems and apply it to your own business to make your business on point and on par with the professional organizations that already exist. And I think there needs to be a much wider program in our community around developing young people. And it can't be we're just going to teach them history, maths, and science. GCSE. It's got to be much more expansive, more expansive.
Definitely. So I saw something the other day. There's a Secret Money Manual 2.0 coming, right?
I'm on it, bro. I mean, basically,
here's the question. For a grime generation, is that what you're saying here? Where are you going with it? Talk to me.
You know what?
Or a trap generation?
A trap generation. I'll be honest with you, right? I still think I meet young brothers in the music industry who are doing well. Young brothers, young sisters in sports, professional sports, doing well. But still, it's like either they're giving their money management over to some mainstream companies who are just like really not doing anything for them, really. Low returns, high costs. Are you really going to be in a position when your music career or your professional sports career ends to actually make things happen for yourself? I don't think they are. You know, do you remember, the story of Robbie Fowler, how he just bought up loads of property? Robbie Fowler, for those who don't know, is a famous football player for Liverpool Football Club, who literally started up a property company, took his wages, big wages from football, started buying up property in Liverpool on prime development land, and is now in a very good financial position because, he's just a big landowner with loads of units across Liverpool, and all of that has been, the whole area has been completely refurbed, rebranded, and redeveloped. So I just feel that our young, successful people, our young brothers, our young sisters still aren't investing properly in the way that they should. Where's your land? Where's your property? Where's your bonds? Where's your shares? Where's your stocks? Where's your gold? What are you doing? What we're doing? We're buying trainers. Is this what's going on?
Yeah.
Is this really what we're doing?
No,
it's 2020. It's not 1980. You should know better. You should be like,
But it's the parallel universe.
What are we doing here?
The parallel universe of online speaks to the human's narcissism. It speaks to our egos. Instagram, TikTok, these things speak to, the hormone oxytocin that goes to the part of our brain where compassion lives. And that world is interesting because half of that world out there is smoke and mirrors. A couple of people are asking some questions because I want to hear some of it. So someone says, what advice would you give to young Black people thinking of opening a business? What advice? Straight. Someone comes in and knocks on your office door. I want to open a business. What's the first thing you're going to ask them?
I say, whatever business you're going to open, just research it. You research that business so you know it like the back of your hand. So you're making whatever decisions you're making it on sound data. You understand this business. Doesn't matter what that business is. You need to know, how much is it going to cost you to start the business?
Yeah.
How much is it going to cost for your manufacture, for your distribution? How much you actually going to get? Who's the best suppliers? Everything that you would need to know. You need to. But sometimes people say, go and do your research, but I can't emphasize it enough. You've got to know this area like the back of your hand, whatever business you're going into. If you need to understand it very, very well. I think get your mind right, get your team in position. Make sure you got your accountant, you got a solicitor if you need one. Have you got someone who's a specialist in copywriting if you need one? If you don't, go and find them. Put your team in place, put your team in position. Don't try and do things all yourself. The accountant, the money that you spend with the accountant will be valuable in terms of it will make sure everything that you need to do is right. Pay your solicitor so you get your contract right. Make sure if you got a solicitor, let's say, for example, your business requires you to get a trademark or copyright, then you get a solicitor that's a specialist in that area.
Yeah.
If your business is property, then you get a solicitor that's a specialist in that area. Don't think that you can get your brethren who did a little GCSE law back in the day and make him do your contract, because with all the best will in the world, you know, they're not going to be able to do what you really need them to do.
Exactly.
It'll help, you know, but you know, it won't do what you need them to, what you need it to do. So use specialists, get your specialists on board, do your research. You know, make sure you've got a clear vision. Why do you actually want to do this business? Are you ready? Are you ready for what comes with it? So you get your mind right. And
but can I add to that?
Money, so you've got your resources, put your plan in place so you know what you're doing for the next, you know, year, 5 years, 10 years. What am I doing with this business? And then hit the ground running and go.
Let me add to that as well. As someone who's, you know, I don't speak about it, you know, opened restaurants, done things like that. And there's one other thing to that as well, lose the romance. People get too romantic about business. Business is where's the money and when do you get it? And, you know, we had a passing conversation and I was going to kind of slowly wind it out, but no, I'm circling back, Sives. Multi-level marketing.
We haven't had a conversation this long for years.
Multi-level marketing. Talk to me, because for me, it's smoke and mirrors. What's your view on it?
Never really been my thing. Network marketing, multi-level marketing. I'm not knocking it. I'm not dissing it. I'm not dissing nobody who's involved in it, but it's never really been my thing. I like tangible businesses with tangible products or tangible assets. You know, land, property. You're manufacturing something, then you've got something. A product that you make. It's commodities. You're buying sugar or you're buying steel. It's a commodity, an asset that you have that has a tangible value that you buy and sell or you distribute. Or if you're into marketing, your ideas, your intellectual property, you know, your professional skill is what you're selling. When you don't really necessarily have a tangible product, my business is essentially, you know, garnered through membership and convincing other people to take memberships and things of that nature.
Yeah,
I've never really been comfortable with it. It's not really my thing.
Me personally, I'm tired of seeing young, impressionable people in Royal Navy suits, right, trying to sell things and they're not being told the whole story. It's great that they're out, it builds confidence and so on, but they're showing the person at the top of the pyramid. And I think it's dangerous myself, because I would rather see them doing an internship or working at a low level in a company where they get a definite consistent salary, rather than this whole look at so-and-so at the top of the pyramid. He's been able to retire his whole family, not realizing that he was an early adopter. And because he was an early adopter, he's naturally going to get the lion's share, right? So, you know, and it's interesting. We talk about how multi-level marketing has been pushed within the BAME community, right? Really hard when you think about it. Does this seminar here and seminar there, and some people do get results. But what you're saying is that build things that have sustainability, that are assets, not just short-term wins. Is that what we're saying?
I mean, for me, if you know, a lot of these businesses are themed. So it could be travel age, it could be travel, it could be, you know, there's silver. You know, you got ones that are around silver, you got ones that are around, you know, digital currencies like Bitcoin and things like that. But for me, I'm just like, you'd be better off getting some like-minded people, starting your own business and learning the lessons for yourself and building a foundation for yourself and selling assets or buying and selling services for yourself. Personally, I think for a young person, maybe if you want to be around, I've got nothing like business seminars and stuff like that are good. But for me personally, the network marketing thing has never really been my thing. I like tangible business. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a product or there's a service or there's a commodity or there's an idea. Do you know what I mean? And we're trading that, and we're either manufacturing it, we're trading it, you know, we're performing a service, we're moving a commodity, but it's something tangible. I like those kind of things.
Yeah.
You know?
So back to the Secret Money Manual 2.0, whether it's for a grime generation, a trap generation, or you know, and it's interesting because trap sometimes gets the negative aspects, but now we're seeing trap kitchens, we're seeing amazing like things like people are doing seafood boils, and you know, with crab and lobster, and you can only order it on Instagram, and they either drop it off or you collect it from some alleyway somewhere, right? But the truth is, people are innovating, and they've got lack of overhead costs, and they're making money. So what's this new 2.0 version going to look like?
Well, firstly, I don't think there's anything wrong with
don't let too much secrets out, but give us a little snippet.
I think there's a lot of less. When I wrote the Secret Money Manual, like I literally had sat down for 6 months, 6 to 9 months, and just did a brain dump and wrote down everything that I'd experienced really to would have been around 2010.
Yeah.
You know, it's around that kind of time where the vast majority of the book was written. And it was written in a very short period of time because I literally had some downtime and I wrote it. So this version really is about a lot's happened in 10 years, man. I've done a lot in 10 years. I've experienced a lot in 10 years. I've learned a lot more in 10 years. I've been involved in a lot of different kinds of businesses in 10 years. And I've learned more lessons in 10 years that I feel that I can share with people on how to really practically get things done. You know, the way things are. I like to share with people the way things are, not the way you would like them to be, or the way that you want them to be, or the way that you dream of them being, but the way things are and how to navigate that situation and that challenge to get the result that you want. You know what I mean? I want to support builders, and I ain't got nothing against the trap generation. For me, the whole trap thing, the drill thing, you know, come on. I mean, Young Jeezy, when I was doing the property thing, you know, I used to play Young Jeezy's music all the time because of the energy, that sort of go-getter energy, you know, and I never wanted to be how back in the day, some of the elders, they didn't like our music, they didn't like hip-hop music, they didn't like bashment music, they didn't like that music, you know. On site, they didn't like it. And I don't want to be sort of like, I don't like what they used to do.
They didn't like breakdancing, never mind the music.
Yeah, they didn't. I don't want to be like, I don't like the drill, I don't like the trap. To me, you know, I think every generation evolves something into something new, and I take it for what it is. I love hip hop for what it was,
yeah,
and I just take this for what it is. You know what I mean? Some of the beats, I'll be real with you, the beats are hard. I think the beats are very hard. I think my only thing is, I think the way that the music industry's been manipulated is that they focus on the negative, so you don't really get a balance in the life experience of these young people. So you'd hear an artist talk about the robbing and the drilling and the this and that, but I know that you would have had people in your community that fed you, looked after you, took you to football, you know what I mean, bought you food when you was hungry, you know what I mean, gave you clothes when you was warm, when you was cold, sorry, gave you clothes when you was cold. Talk about them stories as well. When you talk about the story when you went to your brethren's funeral, yeah, you know, when you went to your brethren's funeral and you saw him and you saw and you experienced that tragedy, why don't you talk about that? Because I know that you weren't skinning and grinning after that. I know you felt pain after that, and that's the reality. I think the music industry's kind of encouraged our young people to make it sound like it's just cool to talk about our death.
We've seen, we know, we've seen it. We can see that, we recognize the exploitation. So for every NWA, we had Public Enemy. You know, we know there was always two sides, and in the end, they worked kind of like simultaneously. I'm gonna draw it in, but no one comes on the show without 3 questions being answered. So the first question: what's your favorite dish? The 3 Ds. This is called. What's your favorite dish? You've got a lyric. You've got a lyric. Saltfish and what is it? Saltfish and cabbage over rice and peas. I remember you've dropped that lyric. But what's your favorite dish?
My favorite dish, but you got to be able to cook it right, though.
Oxtail.
No, it's ackee and saltfish with roast breadfruit, fried dumpling, and plantain. But you got to be able to cook it right, though. It can't. All the ackee pieces can't be all broken up and mashed up and all that. And you gotta cook it right. If you could cook it right, that's my favorite dish in the world.
Ackee and saltfish, fried dumpling, plantain, and breadfruit.
Trust me.
That's some big and serious. That's some big, and that could be even just for. Let's be honest, that could be breakfast if you're in the right space.
That's the plate of king. That's the dish of kings. Come on. After you've had that, you can pick up, them big weights that you've been looking at. You can pick that up now, especially if you add some yam to it as well. Some yam.
Interesting. So the second question is, in terms of the 3Ds, is what and where is your favorite destination?
Like, I love Jamaica because obviously that's where my family's from. And I love the island. I'm proud of my ancestors and the fight they put up there. So I'm very proud of Jamaica. But if you ask me, when I can't help think. I went to Zimbabwe about 6 years ago, and I just felt like the place, the people, so kind. You know what I mean? Like, from my experience of being in Zimbabwe from the airport and just been around the country, that I found it a very beautiful country. So, and they literally, I mean, I got embraced in the airport. Literally, people would see my passport. Where you from? I'm from the UK. Where's your family from? My family's from Jamaica. Hugging me in the airport. Welcome home, brother. Welcome home. Welcome home. So for me, Zimbabwe's like got a special place in my heart, man. Like, and the way in which they speak about Jamaica, and I couldn't believe it. It was like it was a secret password. It was like, it's like all you needed to say was Jamaica, and a plate of food would come out of nowhere. Someone would hug you out of nowhere. I've never seen anything like it. I've never been treated with such. People want to take me home to feed me. Like, brother, you've come back home. Welcome home.
Wow.
And I found Zimbabwe to be a very beautiful place.
Interesting. I love that. Lastly, what's your dream, King? What's the dream? So we know the dish, we know the destination. What's the dream?
Freedom, justice, and equality.
Wow. Simple.
Freedom, justice, and equality. Like, for our people to be respected, to be safe, to not be disenfranchised, to not be molested, to not be looked down on, to not be treated as evil or bad or criminals or inherently wicked, or just freedom, justice, and equality. You know what I mean? And for us to be able to strive to be the best that we can be, just like anybody else.
Yeah, man. Listen, that's powerful, bro. That's powerful. And I think for me today, although we've known each other a long time and we've always broke bread whenever we've met in passing in different spaces, it was amazing to go on a deep dive. And you know what?
I enjoyed it today, bro. I ain't gonna lie. A lot of the time I don't really talk about these kind of things. A lot of people kind of know me from, like, they might know me from Legacy, they might know me from, but a lot of people don't realize I was in the music business for a long time. And that played a big part in my life and the way I see things. I studied knowledge of self for a long time, from a young age. I'm one of that generation that got the benefit of finding out who Malcolm X is because of listening to a Public Enemy record. Do you know what I mean? So that shows me how powerful music is and how powerful entertainment is. I was literally educated by Bob Marley and that generation, Dennis Brown, Bob Marley. And then I was educated again by the Public Enemies, the Lakim Chabazes, the X-Clans, the KRS-Ones. And a lot of it stuck and inspired me to kind of be the person. Do you know what I mean? It inspired me to learn. It inspired me to learn. So I'm not saying they told me everything I needed to know, but in spite they ask questions or they say something that will make me think. And I just kind of look at it like I've been on a journey, bro. And my purpose is to add on and to do the best that I can to provide a foundation for the next generation. That's my purpose. I'm quite clear and comfortable in that. I can't solve every problem. I still have my own human issues. I'm not perfect. I got my own issues that I need to work on, my own issues
All
that
of us.
that I need to deal with. I'm not the finished art. I'm still striving for perfection. You know what I'm saying? You know, but I look at it like I'm clear in what my goals are and what my purpose is and what I'm here to do.
Bro, you've been, the government name is Keith, but the knowledge of self name is Cypher, and we've been in a Cypher today. How can people they're asking a couple of questions. One, where can people get the book from? Obviously, it's on Amazon, Waterstones. If it's on your site, where can people get the Secret Money Manual? And I also noticed something. You did a live event recently, right? Is that right? Or someone, they Rich Dad Poor Dad in it and franchising it? What's going on?
With what, the Secret Money Manual?
Yeah, there was something, I believe, is there a live event happening or online something?
Not to my knowledge, bro.
Okay.
I've done events. I've done online events where people have asked me to talk about the book and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, really, what I'm looking to do is do some consultancy. So I've been doing some consultancy for businesses who've literally they want to start up their thing, and you need a day or 2 days with somebody to essentially help them get up and go. I'm doing that. I'm advising some community organizations. I'm looking to do a Secret Money Manual seminar. I was going to do a Secret Money Manual event. You're 100% right. This year, and that was supposed to happen in April, and the lockdown just put an end to that. But we're definitely going to come back with that next year. Share the information. Do you know what I mean? And for me, I feel that I've experienced a lot of different businesses. I've done a lot of different jobs, and I've from when I was a youngster. My mother always used to say to me, "You must observe." So we'd be walking down the road, and she'd be like, "What's the name of the road?" And you'd be like, she'd be like, "See, this is what I'm saying. You don't observe. You should have known the name of the road. Next time, make sure you know the name of the road." You know, she'd say it serious. So I'd make a point of, what's that over there? What's this over there? What's the name of that over there? I look, I observe.
Yeah.
I look, and I take note. So I've done a lot of different jobs. I've worked in a lot of different spaces. I've run a lot of different types of businesses. I've got a lot of different life experiences. And I feel as though that knowledge and that wisdom other people can use to put to use to make sure that their thing is successful. Support them in making their thing successful.
I love it. How can people get on you at you on the socials?
My Twitter is @CypherJewels, so @CypherJewels. My Instagram is King_Cypher CypherJewels JEWELS, and that's my Instagram. Facebook is Cypher Shayaam CypherShayaam.
Beautiful.
And if you want to email us, info@legacycoe.co.uk. I'm on the grind, bro. So I'm definitely able to support fellow people trying to build.
Like I said to people, your logo is not your brand is not your logo. Your logo is how you show up. You know what I was gonna say? Cash rules everything around me, but it's actually knowledge rules everything around me. But it still says cream. But and I'm gonna leave you with this.
I like that. I don't know where you get these you've been getting these one-liners for 20 years straight. I just don't know where you come up with these. You're a genius for it, bro. I remember remember when you came up with Gangology?
Yeah.
And I was just like, this guy is just a genius.
Do you know why it is? It is because I was never a good MC. I always wore thick glasses, right? So what does that mean? That tells you that you've got to be creative. So the neurological pathway that I've opened up means that everyone doesn't actually recognize that I wasn't a good MC or that glasses are thick. What I've tried to do is work to my strengths. I was gonna I was gonna say, because it's nostalgia every time we catch up, but I was gonna play Cream, but I'm not gonna play Cream because today hasn't been about Cream.
I love that tune. I do love that. I do love that tune, Cream.
Yeah.
But I'll be real with you, like, cash doesn't rule everything around me. You know what I mean? And I do understand a lot of our people where it does, because, and even now some people will be like, well, you're on this business thing, but cash really doesn't rule everything around me. It's important. It's important, but you said knowledge rules everything. And knowledge gotta come first. Bro. And then it's like the cash is about how can I build, how can I make sure my family's okay? How can I make sure my community's okay? How can I leave a legacy for the next generation for that purpose? But I'm not knocking anybody. If you want to boss your little Rolls Royce in the meantime, I'm not knocking people. You might see me in one. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'm just saying that it's not the most important thing. It really isn't.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting. I mean, before we log off, when's the next Black Pound market at the Legacy Centre?
If you say drum, brother.
No, you know what? A Freudian slip.
All right, so the next Black Pound Day is the first Saturday of every month. I haven't got the date right in my head at the moment. I can almost hear Selena, who's on our team at Legacy, saying I should have known the date, but it's the first Saturday of November. That's the next Black Pound Day. I think that. Go on.
I'd like people to attend that, even if you're not from Birmingham, get down there. But also, if you're from a place in the UK that doesn't currently have one, reach out to Cypher and establish one, right? And let's be honest about this as well. Yes, it's a Black Pound Day, but you don't necessarily have to be black to organize it. You can be a friend and ally. You can see the fact that there's a need in your community. Because here's and why I say that is this.
What I would say, bro, sorry to cut your wisdom, brother. I would just say if they want to do a Black Pound Day marketplace, they really should reach out to Swiss and the Black Pound Day team. That's the best people to reach out to. And Swiss is on social media. He's a cool brother to deal with. Very easygoing, cool, positive brother,
Bring it to your cities, man. So I'm not going to play Cream Wu-Tang because that would be too obvious. But I'm going to drop something for you. Let me see how you react, because this is what I'm taking from today's session. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Come on. Come on. Brand Nubian.
And it speaks to everything that you saw today.
Bro, come on, man. Supreme mathematics is a very important thing. I saw you do a show with these guys. I remember back in the day you did a show with these guys. Thank you, brother Stephen. I just seen the date. Thank you, brother Stephen. But I remember you did a show, Urban South.
Yeah.
With Brand Nubian. I'm sure that would have been about 93.
Bro,
so
and let me because a lot of these, I hate being that old man who's on that. Well, back in the day, when it's the equivalent of doing a show with, it was probably the equivalent of doing a show with Kanye or Drake back then, because they were at the top of the pile in terms of hip hop.
Of course, it was. It was packed. Q Club was packed, and nowadays in a venue, if the venue capacity is 4,000, then the maximum amount of people that letting is 4,000. In them days, let's be honest, sometimes all 6,000 people in that Q Club is huge. Big show. And I think we can't forget, at some point somebody needs to do a discussion about how the UK scene really developed and how we got to this where we are now, where you know UK rappers are doing shows and getting 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, 50,000 pound plus, some of them, for doing shows. You know, that started from before us. That started from sound men going to traveling up and down the country, playing sound in people's houses. And that's literally where UK music has grown from that. Everything goes back to the sound system and the sound man. So we've all got we got to pay credit to those guys, you know, the sound system people, because I remember back in the day, our generation who did the hip hop thing, we came after them. Do you know what I mean? We stood on their shoulders, and that's what I'm talking about.
I'm going to give you a joke. I'm going to give you a joke. When we talk about people flossing on the gram, our actual first show was with Ice-T at the Institute, right?
Man.
Rhyme Syndicate, DJ Aladdin, Donald D, Hijack, right? And I don't care who's watching this. This is me and Cypher having a conversation, right? Cypher, I remember we performed, and I was 17. People were asking for my autograph and my crew's autograph, but little did they know I walked home.
Bro, I had video. I had video on MTV. Video was rolling on MTV, and I remember it was one winter, and I literally went my Christmas shopping. It was terrible. I literally had like a bottle with all these coins in it, and I just literally took all the coins and went to the cost cutters in Newtown and bought some sardine and some rice and like one onion, you know, and some cooking oil. It's deep. You're laughing. You're laughing.
Sorry, people, man, but you know what? It's important that you hear the journey.
You're laughing, but it was real. But you know what? I kind of look at it like everything that I went through, for me, everything that I've been through, I feel has aided me in terms of my personal development, and like the limitations, the struggles, and all of those kind of things. And like I said, I don't take nothing away from my family. I don't take nothing away from my parents for what they tried to do. I got the utmost respect for them and all the elders and what they tried to do. Do you know what I mean? But it was a different era. So
it was.
I personally,
you hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head.
I don't want our youth to be going through these kind of challenges, and unfortunately, you can see by what Marcus Rashford's been doing. A lot are. Do you know what I mean? A lot are, and it shouldn't be that way.
I hear you, and this is it. Every generation is supposed to do better. Our parents and grandparents took some heavy oppression. I'm not even going to call it racism. I'm about oppression, over physical racism, hate. Some of the things that we talk now about hate crimes, what they went through, and they still managed to maintain households, and they still managed, you know, to keep their identity. And you know, we can never thank them enough. But King, you know what?
Love and respect, my brother.
Oh, we mean, listen, 2 hours. So hear what, people, go and support Black Pound Day down at the Legacy Centre. Reach out, even not just
one second, just before you go. Let me just check the right and exact. Let me just check the right and exact date.
Yeah, because we don't want it to be one of them. Boy, Oxtail finish, you know, and it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We're trying to do excellent customer service here.
Brother, you kill me sometimes, man. You can live a different life. Hold on a second. Sorry, people. I do apologize.
It's cool.
Right, let me just make sure this is right.
But not just the Black Pound Day, all the other things, yeah.
So, all right, let me sure. Yeah, Saturday the 7th of November, 2020. Yeah. That's the right and exact date for the next Black Pound Day marketplace. Remember, it's not a show, so please come with your money to support these businesses. We're not talking about you just supporting them because they're Black owned. You're just supporting them because they're actually really great businesses who do great. I mean, I'm gonna just leave you with this. There's a coffee company. There's a guy that I met him and his wife. It's a husband and wife team. I believe so. And they've got some land in Uganda. They plant coffee. They're literally roasting the coffee themselves. They're packaging the coffee, importing it into the country, and selling it here. And they're doing the whole operation. Magnificent story. They're selling out. Their coffee is flying off. Like Black Pound Day, their coffee's gone within like hours because it's so good. We're stocking it at Legacy. You know, they are our coffee supplier for the cafe lounge because the coffee is just excellent. We're not talking about buying something that's substandard, and I'm talking about you would be surprised how good these businesses are and how good their products are. In fact, maybe you shouldn't be surprised, but they're excellent.
Excellent.
So please come along and support.
Excellent. King, you've dropped so much knowledge, wisdom, and understanding and gems today. I hope we've been able to serve the community who've tuned in. It's 9 o'clock, and as you know, everywhere closes. And you've also inspired me to try and go and hold an ackee and saltfish and dumpling from the Caribbean, right?
Come on, bro.
I don't think they'll have breadfruit because it's Levels breadfruit, but I'm going to leave you with this, right? People, thank you very much. Cypher,
take care, people. Thank you for your time. Peace, my brother.